Thinking about a home renovation? Stick around. We'll talk to Gus Malzahn about what you can do with an SEC West basement for just $3.5 million.
And don't make New Year's Eve vacation plans until you hear from Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott and his deals. There are a couple of blackout cities. It's time to wake up, college football! Welcome to week 11 of Wake Up College Football, and if you're a fan of a top 10 team, you might... we have some news.
Some of them are fine.
Some of them are fine.
Yeah.
Not all of them looked great.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to go through the awesome, unexpected, and meaningful of week 11. I will start with the awesome because Oklahoma went to McLean Stadium, a pretty much impossible place to win in a lot of rain, going up against a juggernaut Baylor offense, and won. They just went in and won, and they looked great doing so. Baker Mayfield was very, very good. The running game got going. Defensively, they had huge stops, turned over Jarrett Stidham, the injured Jarrett Stidham. Oklahoma looking every bit like the playoff contender that they officially now are, with a couple of tough games still to go.
Yeah, and Baylor gave them a hell of a game. Yes. And there were points where you thought, okay, this is where Baylor turns it on, does their Baylor thing, and just speeds away from Oklahoma's Prairie Schooner. But Oklahoma answered every shot Baylor gave them, came up with defensive stops when they needed to, and in the fourth quarter, they really just hung with Baylor the whole time. Not the best thing for the Big 12 overall necessarily, but a very impressive win from Bob and Mike Stoops.
Big 12, huge Stanford fans moving forward. To you, what was the most awesome thing of Week 11?
I was really impressed by Arkansas going into LSU. An LSU team that you would have thought had something to prove after losing to Alabama, but Arkansas just kind of copied the Bama blueprint.
Yes.
They ran the ball much better than LSU did. They mostly stopped the Tigers on the ground. And they've now won, I think it's 4 of their last 5, or they've won 4 in a row, 5 of their last 6.
Yes.
This was a team at the beginning of the year we were like, they're overrated. How could we even consider them as a top 25 team? It's still a disappointing season in the larger context. They've done a pretty good job of getting Alex Collins going, getting Brandon Allen going, and saying let's finish out and let's have an 8-win season. Still not bad, all told, from Arkansas, especially to go into LSU and just be like, we're just going to impose our will on you.
And to do what they did against Alabama. That was no fluke how close they kept that game.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
And they get the credit offensively in the image of Brett Bielema, the big offensive lineman in the power rushing game, but Brandon Allen at quarterback. And the defense, especially that front, has been terrific and has paced them really well. Let's move to the unexpected because North Carolina, at this point, it's not unexpected that they're dominating offensively and that the defense has looked consistently pretty good with the addition of Gene Chizik in the offseason as defensive coordinator. But overall, with where Larry Fedora was, potentially heading to hot seat territory, with North Carolina disappointing a little bit with the hype that they had with how the offense should have looked until this season, the fact that they are now an offensive juggernaut on a collision course with Clemson in the ACC championship game with only NC State and Virginia Tech left on the schedule. They look terrific, and they dominate Miami, mostly on the ground, and do everything you want to see from a really good team against a decent Miami team.
Against a team that can scare you,
or
at least that you can't just sort of put out of mind altogether. And what Gene Chizik's done in 1 year with the defense is enough that we talked about Larry Fedora as a hot seat candidate coming into the year. Now it's like, okay, maybe the ACC championship game is something we should pay attention to rather than just be, hey, come watch the Clemson coronation.
Yeah, and the ACC is now much more than just a Florida State, Clemson, two-headed beast of a conference. The depth is being added at the top. What were you not expecting?
If I told you at the beginning of the season that Michigan was going to have a game against a road game against a competent Big Ten opponent, and that the defense wasn't really going to do anything, was going to get run all over, and that their running game wasn't going to do anything, the running backs were going to, barely turn out any yardage.
Right.
And I said, do you think Jake Rudock can carry them to victory?
This is where Michigan falls. This is where Michigan falls.
And it wasn't.
No.
I mean, this is not what Jake Rudock anybody thought he was capable of doing,
Right.
putting up over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Right.
He was their best running option as well. And, this is his second game in a row that he's been pretty solid for the Wolverines. It's a little scary that, even when this Michigan team, which at the beginning of the year was just built on hammering, smothering defense
Right.
and an
Running the
effective,
ball, yeah.
not necessarily explosive running attack, has now figured out another pitch. That's pretty good for Jim Harbaugh in year one, I'd say.
Yeah, week 11 is the important reminder week that it's really hard to be very, very good all season long. It's hard to keep up the Michigan defense all year long.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard for Baylor to sustain injuries and depth issues all season long, things like that. To move on to, I guess, the meaningful moving forward, we talked about the top 10 at the top of the show. Stanford goes down at home.
You were in a pretty good mood about this.
It was in a roller coaster. It was a sine wave of a game for me, but Oregon really improving over the course of the season. Vernon Adams looks more and more comfortable, healthier and healthier.
Yep.
The broken finger no longer an issue. Stanford has struggled at times. We saw them on the road struggle against Wazoo recently, but really they've been stepping on teams all over the place. The defense has been fine. Offensively, Christian McCaffrey's been a do-everything player. Kevin Hogan has been very, very efficient all season long, but Oregon takes advantage of turnovers. They force turnovers. Offensively, they run all over Stanford. Vernon Adams is efficient, and Stanford now takes the Pac-12 pretty much. We'll see what happens. Weird stuff can always happen the final couple weeks of the season, but the Pac-12 not looking great for the college football playoff.
No, I mean, it's impressive mostly that Oregon got back to being Oregon these last couple of weeks, where it was just like, we don't need the ball for, the majority of the game.
42 minutes to 17 minutes.
That's fine. We'll take all of those minutes and we will squeeze every point out of them that we can. I thought Oregon, it's a good sign that the Oregon coaching staff sort of has plugged some of the holes. It's still not as strong a team as last year, but nobody thought it was going to be. So good on the Ducks for turning around. However, let's talk about an undefeated team.
Let's do it.
That would be the Houston Cougars.
Yes, it would be.
Tom Herman in his first year has just been stellar. They were in an absolute dogfight with Memphis. They went down by 20 points early. They were down by 20 points late in at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they battled back. This is a team that, I think the College Football Playoff Committee has already sort of indicated, hey, the ceiling is not going to be super high for you, Houston. That said, this is considering the coaches that have come out of this program and gone other places. When you talk about Kevin Sumlin, when you talk about Art Briles. This is an incredible first year that Tom Herman is putting together so far. And they deserve a lot of credit for what they have done and still, have a couple of Power 5 non-conference victories. A tough team to play, and I don't think a team if they do get that group of 5 spot, there's going to be some Power 5 team that just please don't overlook Houston. You're going to regret it so badly.
Do you know who's good at game planning for good teams with 3 or 4 weeks of time? Tom Herman.
Where have I seen that?
Tom Herman's not bad at doing that with talented players all over the place. So that is completely true. With that, our show has concluded. We're here each and every week. We'll see you soon.